Hey everybody, thanks for joining me. Idiot Boomer here to waste your time as always. I have some updates still stacked here in terms of I haven't forgotten about rocks and plants and all kinds of things, but I'm kind of on a gaming roll in my head and I've got a lot that I've been thinking about. So I want to talk about the current state of things today, just kind of hash through some stuff in my head and we will see where that goes. I just want to say before we get going, I know there's a lot of people out there who are probably clicking in thinking, oh my God, I get to see some real genuine idiot boomer screaming at some little kid for playing Fortnite. That's not what this is about. YouTube has a sense of humor and likes to shoot my content at people who think that they're going to see some guy hating on somebody else. I'm not going to do that. But if you're willing to give me a chance, it might actually be a little bit interesting. And for anybody who's going to stick with me here, if you have any thoughts on this subject, I would love it if you would drop some stuff in the comments. I know I'm saying, and then like and subscribe. That's not the point. The point is, I don't really like how sometimes YouTube feels like it's a one-way channel here. So if you have any thoughts or comments about the state of the gaming industry or whether I am absolutely full of crap when it comes to my ideas, do let me know, because I would love to actually have, short conversations about this sort of thing, if that makes sense. Oh, I also wanted to mention, I have a son who is actually a senior designer at a AAA gaming studio in the United States. And I was thinking, oh, you know what? I should probably take some time and run my ideas past him just to kind of vet the things that I was thinking about. But then I was thinking, why? Because he loves to bang his forehead against the keyboard, when he sees me post stuff that makes no sense. I don't want to deprive him of that. And then I was thinking, if he actually wants to troll or flame me in the comments, there's a question of whether he's going to need to make his, like a fake YouTube account so he doesn't, push his own identity out there. And that would mean that I would be getting comments and downvote dislikes from accounts that were not already known to me, which would actually increase my ability to get this bullshit out to other people on YouTube. So I'm thinking this is a win-win for me either way. Sorry, buddy. I probably should have run this stuff by you, but you know how it goes. Okay, moving on. So if you saw my last video, I was talking about how excited I was about Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 coming out, and that I was really pleased that it seemed to be getting good remarks. And but I had made myself a promise that I was going to play Kingdom Come Deliverance the first before I went on to the next game. I know I don't have to. It's not critical for the story, but I don't remember the first game very well, but I do remember that I really liked it. So I thought, no, I'm going to play through that first, get that whole part of the story fresh in my head, and then I will go play the second one. So I found number 1 on Steam, reinstalled it. All my settings were still there from before, and that's a good thing because I have kind of a different configuration that I use because I just do. WASD is FU because this is WASD. My hand does not do this. My hand does this like everybody else's on planet Earth. So when I put my hand down on the keyboard, it's not WASD, it's E and D to go forward and back, and then A and F to strafe, because that's where the fingers go. Why not be comfortable while you're playing a game, right? So then the game starts. They have this nice little storyboard introduction where they kind of paint the picture of the historical setting that the game is in, and that's really fun. You can skip it, but then I didn't skip it. And it like, oh, that's right. Oh, that's right. Oh, yeah. Ooh, okay. And then they start the game. And then the game is it starts with a flyover and you're flying through this village and the music is so majestic and awesome. And then you're just like, wow, this is great. I haven't even done anything and it's great. And they fly you into a cutscene, but it's not you doing something with your friends. It's about your parents who are out in the yard talking about you. And so you get this subtle introduction to the game in a way that shows you that there's a really big story that you're a part of rather than let's hurry and just get this going, shall we? The game is not in a hurry, and it brings you along rather than pushing you over a cliff like some sad penguin. So 3 hours later, when all hell is breaking loose and Henry's got some real challenges, and I'm sitting here going, oh crap, here we go again with everybody dying for no reason and, on planet Earth. I was fully invested in the game even before that multi-hour mark hit. So then I started thinking, well, this game came out in 2018. The second version of it came out in 2025, 7-year gap. It's a long wait, but it's not that crazy, especially given the way the industry has been running lately. Then there was I read somewhere that they estimated they spent about $40 million on the development of each of the two games. And that put me right back into the place where I'm thinking about today's industry. And today's industry, it's like, 2025, last year was a disaster. The industry is falling apart. If you go back and you look at articles from 2012, they were saying the same thing back then. So this is not a new problem, even though the way people are writing about it, it sounds like it is. But there's no denying that right now the state of the industry sucks. There's a few good things that are going on, but there's a lot of pain and a lot of failure that's going on in the industry. And it's been going on for a while, but there is a legitimate question about how much longer it's going to go on before the whole industry just kind of fragments and ends up being a lot less than it could have been. I know, idiot boomer, I'm going to sit there and shake my stick at how bad. No, that's not what I'm here for, because the thing that I'm thinking is that what's going on is actually, it can be simplified down into a very reasonable couple of reasons why this is all going on. Well, I guess if you count human stupidity and human greed, then that's actually 2 more, which makes 4. But the first 2 are kind of self-standing. But this to me is something that actually can be, it can't be fixed, but it can be made better. And there's the course that people are on in terms, or the course that companies are on that are dragging their people along with them. It doesn't have to be like this. And I don't think it's that complicated to change where the risk is and end up with much better products coming out sooner, simply by avoiding doing the things that are proven to be stupid and wrong. So the 2 things that I'm thinking of, number 1, it is simply the amount of time it takes to develop a game. And that has a tremendous bearing on cost, because a lot of the cost that's being borne by studios is if you have a team of hundreds and you have to pay them every year for 10 or 15 or 250 years, which is how long it's going to take to get Elder Scrolls 6 out the door, you're spending an enormous amount of money. If you could spend 5 to 7 years worth of time and salary to get a game out instead of 15 to 20 years worth of time to get that same game, or to get an intellectual property out to market, then you're saving a tremendous amount of money. You're reducing the risk. The guy who runs Warhorse Studios, he came out right after EA had their famous announcement about, if only for live service, Dragon Age Divinity, that would have been just fine. Veilguard, that was the one. Then everything would have been okay with that. And he comes out going, that's funny. We've been on sale for 2 days and we've already made our money back. The amount of money that's being spent is crazy high, and it's not getting any better. The prices of the games themselves are not keeping pace, so you've got inflation. But you don't need to make your video games more expensive when you sell them. You need to reduce your costs by a tremendous amount, and what that comes down to, don't take so damn long to get your games done. And that leads us to number 2, and the second part of the equation, which in large measure drives the high costs that I mentioned in the first one, is that there's this weird false equivalence or false equivalence, and people are sucking false equivalence gas from balloons as fast as they can hyperventilate, is that every sequel or every new intellectual property that is remotely related to anything else in the marketplace, including our own products, somehow needs to be 5 or 10 or 100 times better, more expansive, more everything than ever before. And it's weird because it's just not the case. Whether it's a slightly better kind of mayonnaise, or whether it's novel number 3 in the series by famous author so and so, that's not how it works. And when you look at it, it goes off the rails from the very beginning. A studio makes a game, and people come back and they say, man, this game was so much fun. I had a great time playing it. And what comes back? Great. We're gonna be making a chapter 2, and we all say that's really wonderful. You do that, yeah. And we're gonna move to a new platform that has the best ray tracing and even sharper graphics. And we're thinking we can squeeze an extra 30 frames per second. But listen, you made a story game. You made Kingdom Come or Mass Effect or Fallout. Your fans didn't come to you and say, this game, I love it. Really, what did you like about it? The ray tracing was awesome. They don't say that shit. That may be an extra cherry on top, or it may be something where the graphics is fabulous, right? But if you come back and say, we're going to make the graphics even 10 times more fabulous, we're going to use the next generation of ray tracing. Well, I mean, it's not necessarily a stupid idea unless you're doing it because that's what the fans will want or expect. But there's a question, if you're going to port your system over to a whole new engine just to get better graphics quality, and that's going to cost you 2 years and another 40 or $50 million, is that smart? Do you really have that? I mean, you're already saying, no, games are too expensive. Well, don't do that then. Because the game platform that you used the last time worked great. You sold 4 million copies of your game on that platform. You don't need to move off of that. Maybe for Fallout, because that game engine is 25 years old, but even then, I'm not sure that would make that much of a difference. If you released Fallout 5 years sooner and didn't port it to a new engine, you'd probably have people going, no, at least they got it before I died, right? So you listen to your people that are buying the games. What did you like? Oh, we liked how it was the story writing was, I could never figure out what was going to happen next. Or the guns in this thing are fucking fantastic. And I could, blowing some little midget's head off from across the town square. This was really, you listen to what people are saying and you go, aha, these real qualities about this game, these are the things that people valued. And that's what you focus on when you're building your sequel. And the overpromising that goes on, it's just toxic to the process of making a game. We use Mass Effect as an example for this, okay? The Mass Effect 1, they used a little small sack full of millions in order to produce that one. It wasn't supposed to be the crowning achievement of anything. It turned out to be a massive hit. People loved it. I sat down and I played it, and yeah, call me naive, but there were actually some surprises that I didn't see coming in the story. And I thought, wow, this is really cool. And it was an awesome game. People liked it. So the game was a success. The sequel was planned. Mass Effect 2 came out a handful of years later, cost a lot more money. They had put, some more things into it. They tweaked the combat system a little bit, changed things around in terms of, things that perks that you could get, that kind of thing. It's been a while. I don't remember super carefully, but I thought the first game was fine. I thought the second game was fine. I probably didn't stress the combat system as much as some people would, but whatever. Some people thought one was better. Some people thought the second one was better. I thought, again, that they were doing a really good job of making certain choices resulted in certain things. The story went the same way no matter what, which generally happens. But one of the things I noticed is when they came out with Mass Effect 2, they were starting to get really pushy, or I felt like they were starting to get really pushy about your choices matter. This game, it's all about how choice matters in this game. You get to make choices and I was like, Jesus, okay, just let me play the game here. Well, so anyway, so they get done with number 2. The number 3 is definitely coming. It's going to be the 3rd chapter in the trilogy. So everybody's, this is going to be it. What's going to happen? What's it going to be like? And as it came closer to launch time, the studio, your choices are really going to matter. All your friends from the first 2 episodes, they're going to be along to help you realize how meaningful your choices are. And okay. And so release day came and I had pre-ordered it. That was the last time I ever did that. And got the game and I downloaded it to play. You know what? it wasn't 10 times better than the last one, even though that's what they said it was going to be. And it wasn't ever more complex. And the only extra complex things that they had put in were some side missions that made no sense. And all of your friends that were there to help you discover how meaningful your choices you were going to make, they were just dumb little cameos that introduced these side missions that were coming into a central pool of resources that you were going to use to fight the Reapers. And it never ended up at all being something where there was a meaningful end to it or not. There was no coherent story. It was just a series of missions that you went on. There was nothing to it. It was an empty sack of itself compared to what it was before. And the only thing, that's not the way to say it. One of the most important things in the game, which wasn't important to the company because they would never have done what they did, is whether we were finally gonna get to see poor Tali'Zorah's face. Because everybody in the universe, me included, was in love with Tali'Zorah, and we wanted to see her and finally have that connection. And they didn't show the face until they remastered that stupid ending, and they put a Shutterstock photo on a table, and it was almost, they may as well have left the Shutterstock watermark in that thing. It was shameful. Not because I had some emotional problem with it. It was just like, you guys, you had forums of thousands of people saying, oh, I wonder what it's going to be like. And then it's like, oh, it's not going to be like anything. Oh, is that a problem for you? Okay, here's a digital snapshot of some random person in a frame. Absolutely thoughtless and absolutely stupid. I am 100% sure it was not a technical person who came up with that, and whoever it was, you in marketing or producer land, bad. Don't come visit me. It's not that big of a deal, but still, the idea was everything was overhyped, overpromised, over everything, and you see this again and again. And the thing is, it's not necessary to keep interest alive while you're waiting for the next installment of something. And in fact, it does the opposite, where if you can't follow through on what you promise, you disappoint people. And disappointed people are not happy people. It doesn't work that way. They're opposites. Perfect example. There's this guy, what's his name? Oh yes, George R.R. Martin. He wrote the Game of Thrones thing. I don't know. Hardly anybody knows about that book, right? Or that series of books. I don't know if you noticed, but he released the first book after he wrote it, and he was already, in the process of sketching out and then writing the next book. I don't remember anybody coming out saying, okay, but book number 2, it's going to be twice as big. There's going to be twice as many kingdoms in this one as there were in the last one. 10 times as much incest, 100 times as much misery and unfair things happening to other people. Just you wait and see. It's going to be. They didn't do that. Martin didn't do that. He's just like, no, it's chapter 2. You guys are waiting to hear the next part of the story. Here's the next part of the story. And then the third book. Why? He did the same thing. If you have intellectual property and it's good in the beginning, you continue to develop it. But you don't have to double the promises of everything that you do. And not only that, it ignores a reality of the human condition, which is nirvana won't make you happy. Happiness isn't something that you ingest and then it lasts forever. If you get a chance to eat chocolate cake, it's delicious, but it's only delicious if you get some and then actually focus on how fucking wonderful it is and how lucky you are to be able to taste something this good. If you get a chocolate cake the size of a car and you sit there and stuff yourself on it until you puke because you've had so much, that doesn't make you happy. So even if you could deliver a chocolate cake that good, that big, and say, eat more, eat all this stuff. It's really, the more you eat, the better it gets. It doesn't work that way. The human condition isn't like that. Our brains don't work that way. We get something good. If we stop to appreciate it, then it matters while we are appreciating it. if we don't stop to appreciate it, we just get full and then overfull, or we get bored and we move on. Perfect example of that, Starfield. I played that last year. Um, it was just really huge. And they promised that it would be really huge. But huge didn't turn out to be interesting. There were hundreds of planets. Yeah, there were. And they were all pretty much the same. And what do I do? Well, you visit them. And then what do I do? Well, you can explore the same 4 buildings on all of the different planets. Okay. What do I get? You get money. Okay. I don't really need to spend that on anything, though, because I have all the upgrades I need. Well, I mean, you could build a base. Okay, what do I do with a base? Well, you have a base, and then you can mine resources on the planet. Okay, but the resources I just use either to sell for money, which I don't need, or I can use them for upgrading my weapons and spacesuit, which I already did on the first 6 planets, so I don't really need the next 106. In the end, it's just more chocolate cake, and I already had some. I'm kind of full now. And the truth is, I never even finished the story in Starfield. I just kind of lost interest. It was like, nah, it's okay. I had planned to finish it, but then something else came up. I think my son told me to try Factorio, and then that kind of ruined my head for weeks and weeks. Then by then I was like, Starfield, nah, never mind. Anyway, Sarah never called. I shut the game off for months and she never called, so whatever. The thing is, I'm not sitting here thinking, there's nowhere to fix, old guy shakes cane at sky or something like that. This is fixable. It's not fixable in the sense of nirvana where, everything is good now. All gaming companies are doing well, but we could stop doing the thing that we already know will fail and is painful and destructive, and instead do some things that at least have half a chance of working. That's a big improvement, right? And it's so obvious. And it's not like I'm the first person to have thought of this. It's just that for some reason, even though it's obvious, people say, no, we can't do that. Or we'll just go back and do this impossible thing. Maybe it'll work this time. It's 2 very simple things. First, you come up with a concept. Oh my God, what if we made a game like a robot fighting game, and except that instead of the people driving the robots, they could be creating strategies, and then the robots fight against each other, and whoever has the best strategy wins. I don't know. What about, oh my God, we should make a shooter, but it's not just like, kill shit. It's not Duke Nukem. There's actually a story here. It'd be a story about a guy who's he's however it is that he's going to save the world. He'll save the world, but in order to do so, he ends up battling against his son and daughter, who are the unwitting pawns of a group of global politicians who are trying to destroy the world even as he is struggling to save it. Okay, so then what you do is part 2, where you say, okay, what do we need in order to make that into a decent game? And if the answer is we need 10 years of development on A and B, it's no, stop. Then you don't. That's not what you need. If you really need to spend 10 years to develop some amazing new platform, then that's a separate project. Figure out what you need to turn this incredible creative idea into a workable, solid, satisfying piece of chocolate cake. And then you assemble your smaller team, because you don't need 200 people maybe to do this, or 500 people. Maybe you can get it done with 75. Could you do it with 50? And then you build it in a constrained way. And you actually take the time to make sure it works before you release it. And for all of the marketing and executive producers that cannot tell whether a game works well enough to be released, the answer is you play it, and if it works, then it works. If it breaks, if your servers cannot handle more than 10 people to log in at a time, it's not ready yet. Or if it's lacking something important like the story, or the purpose. Yes, it's going to have thousands of guns, but right now we only have 2. No, it's broken. Don't release that thing yet. And that's all it is. You shrink the size of the project to not be 10 times bigger than, because number one, it's not possible. You are failing when you're trying to do it that way. And number two, it's not what people need. It's not what people want. There are games coming out all the time where people are super excited about them, and it didn't need to take 15 damn years to make the game. And you didn't have to pay a full studio for people of 15 years and then release your game and 3 days later say early sales were not good enough, so we're going to lay everybody off. Early sales? How about total sales? What if you'd given them another 6 months? Would you have made your money back? Well, but that's 6 months. No, screw you. That lack of thinking is really disappointing. To me, I don't understand from an objective point of view why this is such a big deal, why it is so impossible to say, okay, everybody, we need a really good idea. The human race is full of good ideas, followed by, okay, let's scale this based on what we can come to full completion with within the next 5 years max, and then release this thing. And how much is that going to cost us? $40-50 million. Okay, that means we got 1 or 2 other projects we can start at the same time, or stagger them, or do whatever it is you're going to do so that every year or two there's another significant game coming out. Oh yeah, the shotgun approach to make low quality. No, that's not what I'm saying. People, that's the echo that I hear as soon as you hear, oh well, you should make more contained games. Yeah, lower quality games. They're not lower quality. Seriously, you think Fallout 76 was a high-quality game? Anthem was a high-quality game? That poor Concord or whatever it was that didn't even last 2 weeks before the company pulled it off the server, shut them down, and denied the game that ever existed. That was a critical success? No. Limited does not mean low quality. You make a limited thing, but you make it really, really well with the people that are needed to make it. Just, it doesn't mean, well, we can only hire 3 people to do this and spend $100,000. No, why would you do that? You have $100 million in the bank that's supposed to be used this year. Use it, just don't use it all on one project and say, we'll see you in 60 years. It'd be nice if Fallout 5 came out before my grandchildren die. I'm not even so sure that's going to happen. Great idea, make a game. Great idea, make a game. Sometimes it'll work, sometimes it won't. But the risk is a third the size, if you do it that way, of spending $100 to $150 million on a game and having it not work. Nah. Maybe we just try again and push the live service angle a little more. Or maybe, I don't know, you know what? Maybe NFTs are making a comeback. By the time we release this game in 22 years, maybe NFTs will be a thing again. Let's try that instead. Anyway, that's good enough. If you're still here, you are a person of integrity and patience, and I very much appreciate your company. Again, if you have any comments, leave them for me down below, and I would love to read what you're thinking. Thank you again. Let's do this again sometime, and I'll be back soon. Take care.